Hi friends, welcome to a Lovely Yarn podcast. My name is Amber. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Today is Sunday, February 5th, and here in Western Pennsylvania, it is absolutely gorgeous. We are coming off the tail end of a week of sun. Yes, it's been amazing. A week of sun, almost unheard of. Now, it was super cold. It was like single digits and wind chill sub-zero, so I didn't go out as much as I normally go out, but just having the sun was just amazing. And it's a partly sunny day today, and it's almost 50 degrees out, so another amazing for February. It's been such a weird winter with the weather. I'm actually sitting here with my window cracked because I'm wearing this is what I wore to church this morning, and I didn't feel like changing. And I am actually planning on going outside here in a little bit. So I was just a bit warm sitting here in front of my window with the sun shining in. So I cracked my window, and I have a nice little cool breeze blowing in. And speaking of what I'm wearing, this is one of my two Felix pullovers. And this is, my Felix pullovers are probably one of my most worn sweater patterns. I really like the way that they fit. They're really super comfy, and basically like a sweatshirt is what they are like. And this is knit in Barocco Mercado, and I don't remember the color name, but yeah, both of my Felix are knit out of that same brand and that same base of yarn, and I really like it for this. So that is what I'm wearing. And then I also have a pair of hand knit socks on, which is, I always have hand knit socks on, to be completely honest. It's rare that I don't. Unless I'm working out, then I wear just regular socks. But if I'm my everyday wear, I almost always have on a pair of my hand knit socks. Before we dive in, I actually wanted to clarify that this is not going to be the giveaway episode because I'm still waiting on some of the things to come. So I ordered a few things, and then there were a few viewers who have small fiber related businesses who so graciously reached out and offered to send me some prizes. So I am waiting for all of that to arrive, and I am guessing that I will be able to do the giveaway episode for my next episode, which I would also guess would be in the next couple of weeks. So sometime here in February, I will be doing my giveaway. Mitty, come here. My dog wants out. This is the game we play. Mitty, what's wrong? Come here, Mitty. Can you see? Oh, there's the top of her head. There we go. And her little old eyebrows. Because she's getting old, huh? So, let's go ahead and start with what I have finished. I have two finished objects for you. And I'll have the first ones already on the sock blockers. Not that I have blocked these because I don't block my socks. I typically don't. And because I typically just put them on my feet, or I give them away and the people I give them to put them on their feet. So I don't really see the sense in blocking them. If there were a lace pattern, then I probably would. But these are just a simple textured pattern. So here we go. I showed these at least, I think, just in the last episode. So this is Flower Hill Fleeces yarn in the Farm Fresh Eggs colorway, and this is the Kia sock pattern by Dawn Henderson. And these are actually a birthday gift for my daughter who turns 17 tomorrow. So I didn't want to say that earlier in the podcast. I don't think she watches my podcasts, but I don't know. So hopefully she doesn't decide to watch this one if she doesn't already. But she loves my hand knit socks, and so I knew I wanted to make her another pair. I had wanted to make her a pair for Christmas, but that didn't happen, so she will get one for her birthday tomorrow. And I've knit her this same pattern before, and she really liked it, so that's why I wanted to do that one again. And I just followed this pattern, and then I did a slip stitch heel. I'm pretty sure that's what the pattern called for, although I could be wrong about that. I don't remember. But it's a really easy pattern, and I believe it is free on Ravelry. My next finished object, I literally just took off the blocking mat, and it is the Trading Post headband, and I talked about this last episode, but I hadn't even casted it on yet. But this is a picture of it from the pattern, and this is also a free pattern on Ravelry. So for this headband, I used a Knit Picks. What did I use? Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. Colors will be listed down below with all the other information because these don't have color names, they just have color numbers. These are the colors though, just neutral. So my whole idea for this headband was I really liked the look of it and I needed a headband. So this is like a ear warmer headband type situation that I was going for. Not a headband to hold my hair back, but one to keep my ears warm in the warmer days of winter when I don't need my full on double layer mohair wool hat that I usually wear. So I wanted to do either a double thick headband, or I wanted to do something that was color work so that it would make the fabric thicker because that would give me more warmth for my ears. And so I found this pattern doing a Ravelry search just for, you know, color work headbands. And I thought, oh, that's a great one. I really like the look of it. I think that this pattern was made, like the sample, was made using a spin cycle yarn for the contrast. So the lighter colors were all out of spin cycle, which you cannot tell looking at my pattern because of the printer it didn't print it out. It's not a very good printer. But on screen, you'll see that this color, this light color, actually shifts a bit, which if any of you are familiar with spin cycle yarn, that's kind of how it works. I've never used it or bought it. It's out of my price range, but I also hand spin my own yarn. So I can get a very similar type of yarn with my hand spun, with how I spin it. So what the whole idea of this headband was to try it out using this yarn, see how it actually fits me, see if I need to make any adjustments to it, and then if I liked it, I was going to go ahead and make it with some of my hand spun, like holding a solid color with a contrast color. So let me show you the finished headband. I think it turned out fantastic, and it was so super quick. I knit it in over a period of 3 days, just because, you know, I mean, honestly, you could knit this in 1 day if you just sat there and knitted all day, but that's not how I knit. I knit at the tail ends of my days usually. So I was able to finish this up in like 3 days, and it's really pretty. It is knit, so there's no seams. These little creases are just from me blocking them because I blocked it flat on the blocking mat, but it's actually knit in the round this way, which is why you don't get any seams. So I really like it, and I am definitely ready to give it a go with some hand spun. So let me show you what it looks like on. Okay, so this is what it looks like on, and as you can see, it's good. It's a good large size. I got a lot of coverage here. So it's basically a hat without this part up here. Oops. But the nice thing about this is that I will be able to have my hair pulled back in a ponytail and be able to wear this headband to keep my ears warm. So that'll be nice, but I'm really happy with this. So let me show you what ideas I had as far as my hand spun yarn, what I was maybe thinking about doing, like my color combinations. Okay, so I have multiple color combinations that I was thinking about doing. So the first two options are knitting exclusively with my hand spun, and then the last two are combining a skein of my hand spun with a skein of Quince & Co. Owl. So first one is this. So this is like what is this one? This is a 100% merino blue, and then this is Polwarth. It's got well, here, that's fairly close to what it is, so I thought maybe those two would make a nice combination. Okay, that's option one. Actually, I have 5 options because I just looked down and thought, oh, this is a nice option too. It won't pop as much because this one has a lot of yellow that will really make it pop. But this one has, I think it would go well with the blue. So then this skein is organic merino. Held with this. And I had originally thought about holding this or knitting this with this, I'm sorry, this isn't Quince & Co. This is Shelter. So I thought that might make a nice combination. And while I'm holding the Shelter, I have this one as well. It's more of like earthy tones and earthy greens, a little bit of coral in there. Thought that would be nice together. And then another option would be these two together. Let's see if I can get up close. Or even these two together. Although again, I think I'd have a better contrast with these two. So those are just probably a few of many options that I could use with my Handspun to make this headband. And this is a worsted weight yarn, the Knit Picks Andes. And I would say that my Handspun that I have here, all the ones that I've picked, are all worsted as well. So, I mean, it's not perfectly worsted because it is Handspun, and so some of it's, you know, a little bit thicker in areas than other areas, but I really don't see that being a problem. I think this is one of my favorite skeins. I just love these colors so much. So yeah, that's 176 yards there. I have so much Handspun, and I've only ever knit one thing. I think that I can remember, I have only ever knit one thing with my Handspun, and that was a long time ago. It was some of my very first Handspun that I ever knit or ever made, and I knitted a shawl for my daughter. So that is, yeah, I need to use my Handspun. I just grabbed it real quick because I kept it. It doesn't fit her at all anymore. She was so little when I made her this, but this was the little shawl that I made her when she was just a little gal. She's now, like I said, did I say she turns 17 tomorrow. So this was made a long time ago. And it was some of my very first Handspun. Oh, and that's a lie because I made myself a big shawl. I have made things out of my Handspun, just not very many things. 2 now that I can think of off the top of my head. But yeah, this is more like a neckerchief. Like, see, I could maybe make it work. Actually, I could probably make it work. But I tucked it away with my shawls because I thought I'll save it for, maybe she'll have a daughter someday and she can give it to her daughter. It can just be passed down. So yeah, that was my daughter's that I made from Handspun. So those were the only 2 finished objects that I have for you, or I have to show you. So I want to show you my, oh gosh, I only have 2 works in progress too. And so why don't I go ahead and start with, or show you guys those. Okay, so I have 2 works in progress to show you. The first one is another pair of socks, and I would have shown this yarn before because I originally got it to make myself a pair of Christmas socks, and then it came and I thought, oh, this doesn't look Christmassy. Like, I thought it looked Christmassy online when I bought it, but then when I got it, I thought it looked way more fallish. But I decided I'm going to cast on this yarn. So this is it in the skein, and it's an opal. I'll let you read that, and then I will let you read this, because I can't pronounce any of it. Okay, so this is it in the skein. It's very pretty. Light blues, green, like an orangey color, like a rusty orange, white. And I love how it is knitting up. It's making a really pretty, it's like they're very muted earthy tones, and I really like that. I'm actually making these for somebody. So these will be given away when I finish them. But so typically when I knit from commercial sock yarn like Opal or Regia, I typically have a lot. Like I normally only use maybe half, maybe a little over half of the ball. And so what I'm planning on doing is knitting these for someone. I already know who I'm knitting them for, but and then giving them their socks, but then having enough to maybe knit a second pair. I might not be able to do as long of a leg, but I really like this yarn, so I'd also like to have a pair to keep for myself in this colorway. I just think it's so pretty. Isn't it? I guess it is kind of wintry. You know, you got your white for the snow and the blue for the sky, and then brown for the dead trees right now, and then green of the pine. I'm not really sure what this would be right here, but yeah. Regardless, I like this colorway. I like the way it's working up in the self-striping pattern. And so I just cast these on last night, and I worked on them last night while I listened to my book, which I'm listening to Gone with the Wind right now. Never read that book before. I remember watching the movie when I was very young, but I don't even remember the whole movie. I just remember bits of it. But I've been listening to the book on Audible. And so that's what I usually do in the evenings. I listen to the book and I knit. So I got all of this done between last night and this morning. I knit in church, so I got a good portion done at church as well. Okay, and then the last thing that I'm going to share with you is my garter blanket. Oh gosh, I'm in the middle of a row. That is not good because it's going to be really hard to show you guys this being in the middle of the row. I'm going to pause this and get to the end of the row so I can show it easier. Okay, so I've been wanting to talk about this garter blanket because I talked about it last episode, but I left out information that I really wanted to talk about because I love scrappy projects, but one of the things I don't love about scrappy projects are all the ends I have to weave in at the end because I'm not fond of that. I don't typically enjoy that. Sometimes I get in a weird mood and I find it therapeutic to weave in ends, but most of the time I just want to knit and not have to worry about the finishing stuff about a project. So I fully meant to talk about how I am joining my new yarn colors in, and I forgot. And then somebody asked me, how do you not have any ends hanging there? How are you joining your yarn? And I thought, oh no, I forgot to talk about that. So this blanket is just a garter stitch blanket. For those of you who maybe didn't see my podcast last time, I cast it on 240 stitches, and I am just knitting back and forth, slipping the first stitch of each row to give it a nice finished edge. So let me show it to you. It's grown a lot since last time. Okay, so there we go. And then it's really wide. And this is 240 stitches that I cast on size 8 needles. And I have that written. If you go back to my last episode, I wrote what I did. Cast it on 240 stitches on size US 8 needles, slipping the first stitch of every row. Now let's talk about how I'm changing colors and how I don't have ends hanging. I mean, I have little ends, right? You can see some little ends, but I don't have a bunch of ends hanging out on either side. So I knew that I wanted this project to be really relaxing and chill, and so I wanted to figure out how to do this, how to join the colors without having a bunch of ends to weave in. So I looked up the magic knot method because I've seen podcasters make the magic ball where they tie two strands, they tie like the ends of yarn together and then they make a ball of all different minis. And so I looked that up and I watched a tutorial by Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady. And I watched how she did it. And it's basically tying 2 knots in a certain way that you can pull the yarn tight and it pulls the knots together and makes it real tight. However, in her video and every other video, because I watched a couple then, and every other video that does that method, they take scissors and they snip the two small tail ends right up against the knot. And in my mind, I'm thinking, how's that not going to work itself loose? But I'm thinking, but people are doing it, multiple people are doing it, so it must work. So that's how I started, and I did about, let me look here. Let me see how many color changes I did. I did 5 color changes, so I did up till this blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 6 color changes. I get done with the blue, I look back at the rest of my work, and this was over a series of several days, and my knots had come undone, every single one of them but one. So 5 out of 6 of my magic knots came out, and I was like, yeah, no. I had a feeling this wasn't, I'm like, did I do this wrong? So I rewatched the video, and I'm like, no, this is what they're doing. It's, you tie it, you pull it tight, you make sure that's really, you can really yank on it, it's tight, and then you snip off the tails right up against the knot. And I should have just went with my original instinct and thinking, how could that possibly not undo itself? But it undid itself, okay? And thankfully it undid itself early on in the process. So I had really super short little ends that I had to figure out. And I have one here left. You can see. Where's it at? Oh no, I have several. So actually all of them. I have all of them left that I need to go back and I need to figure out how I'm going to. Oh wait, wrong side. Oh, this one's here. So you can see it came undone. So I need to figure out, and then over here, here, like these are my little ends that I have to work with to weave in and hopefully secure this. I might end up, I don't know. I'm going to think about this. I'm going to use my brain and think about how I can somehow anchor these ends in on 5 strips of color. Like, look how short that one is. Look at that. Like, that's going to be hard to secure. So if you have any tips, let me know. And if you guys use the magic knot method or the magic ball method or whatever, and you have success, I don't know how. I don't know how. I am just like, I'm so glad I didn't get the whole way through and then notice them unraveling. I'm really glad that it unraveled earlier in the process. I could see that maybe working if you were using a very sticky woolly yarn, but all of these yarns are a softer. They're indie dyed sock yarn, so they're nylon and merino, or nylon and BFL, or some sort of wool. And I think most of them are merino wool. So I don't know if it was just too slippery, but so what I ended up doing, I ended up making, for the rest of my changes, I ended up making the knot using the whole method that Kay talks about in her video, and everybody else that does that method. So I make the knot, and then I make the tails longer. I leave them longer. So originally I left each tail that long. So the knot was here, the tail was that long, okay, on each end. So I leave them about this long, both tails, and then I don't cut them. I just leave them, and then I knit them in as I go. And I try to spread one out this way and one out that way so that I don't have 4 strands that I'm knitting together. I don't know if this is making sense, but it seems to be working. So I'm still making that magic knot, but I'm leaving long tails that I'm weaving or that I'm knitting in as I go. And I feel much more comfortable with this method. If you guys use this magic knot or the magic ball, whatever it's called, please tell me how you make that work, how you keep those little knots from not coming out. Yeah. Anyway, it's okay because I discovered it very early on in this project. I could not imagine. I have switched yarn colors so many times because I'm just using minis. So I'm using up my minis for this. And so I could not imagine if I would have gotten through this whole blanket and then realized that it was unraveling itself. So basically then what I'm left with are just these really tiny, see here it is. This has been woven in or knitted in as I've gone. So then at the end of my project, I'll just go back through and snip off all of those little tiny leftover ends. See, so it's no big deal. I'm very happy with this way of doing it. I feel fairly confident that it's going to stay knotted because it's much more like my normal way of weaving in ends is that I will knot off the yarn and then I will weave it in with a needle. I don't know why I couldn't think, like a sewing needle. And so that's how I normally do it. So this is kind of similar to that, only I am knitting it in, and that saves me a lot of work. I really like this method actually. So that's how I'm doing that, and that's how I'm not having a bunch of ends to weave in at the very end. But yes, please, I'm serious. If you successfully used the magic knot ball, please tell me what went wrong in all 5 sections, or what was it because of the yarn that I used? I don't know, but I was so disappointed that it didn't work, but at the same time I was also very happy that I found it early on in the project. So I am very, very happy with this. It is large enough now that it lays across my lap while I work on it, and it keeps me warm, and it's just going to be so cozy. And I will show you what it looks like with that slip stitch on each beginning of row. You get that edge, that nice edge, and I'm doing that at the beginning of each row so you have it on both sides. What my plan is, in case you didn't watch the last episode, is I want to go back and put in applied I-cord edging around the whole perimeter of the blanket using a solid color. And I decided, so many people said, don't wait till the last minute to do, or don't wait till the project's all over and do an applied I-cord because you're not going to want to do it. And I expressed that concern last video because I wasn't sure if I would want to do it. But if I would have worked in I-cord edging while I knitted, then my I-cord edging would have been all different colors, and I really want to put a solid border. And honestly, if I get to the end and I don't feel like knitting an I-cord edging, I can just crochet a couple rounds of single crochet around it, just to give it like a little bit more stability on the edges, and also to give it a solid color border to pull everything together. And I think what I'll probably do is just use like the bare colored yarn, hold 2 strands of this together. So I'm probably gonna have to order some more yarn. I started with 6 skeins of this, and this is Muse the Bear by Knit Picks. Muse is the base. It's a fingering weight. I think it's 75-25 wool and nylon. This is all I have left of my 5th skein, and I have a whole one left. This is the 6th. So, and as you can see, it's big, but it is not big enough for me yet. I'd like to keep knitting and maybe potentially make it a square so that I can fold it in half, corner to corner, and use it as a shawl as well. Yeah, so that is my garter stitch blanket. And those are all of the projects that I have to show you. Real quick, I want to show you something I received. So Michaela of Sugarful Handmade did a giveaway during her Vlogmas, and I won it. I was so excited. It was so exciting to win it. And so she sent this to me a while ago, and I forgot to share it the last episode, but I just real quick want to show you what I won. Is this not the cutest? I love patchwork. This is a patchwork bag, and this is by Jessalyn Janice. Handmade by Jessalyn Janice. Yes. Okay. And then it's got a lining in it. That is so adorable. And then there was a sock set from Biff Sugar Yarns. That is so beautiful. This is Luck Dragon. That's the colorway. She sent me some teas. I've already drank one of them. And then I knew I was getting, as a winner of the giveaway, I knew I was getting the Crown Progress Keeper, but these other two are, one's a dog paw and one is a dog bone, because she knew how much I loved my dogs from watching my Vlogmas episodes. So Michaela, that was so fun to receive. Thank you so much. It's so exciting to win that. And then I also wanted to show some new fiber I got. This was sent to me. So I was super excited. I got into my Gmail, my podcast email account, and I had Amanda message me from Wannabe Handspun Yarns, and I'll put her shop down below. She had messaged me and she wanted to donate some of her handspun yarn to the giveaway. And I was so excited because I'm a hand spinner. I know how much time it takes to spin yarn. And I'm so appreciative. So thank you, Amanda, if you're watching this. And then, so she sent me the package, which I'm not going to show you. She sent me 2 skeins of handspun as well as some other goodies that are in there for you guys to include in the giveaway. And then she also sent me something. Look at this. Oh my goodness. So this is from Hello Yarn. I've never heard of this company, but this is the Show Me Your Garden colorway. Polworth in silk. 4 ounces of that. So pretty. I'm sure Amanda knows that I love to garden. And then this one is called Little Houses, and this is eider wool. I've never spun eider wool. I'm not even familiar with that, but look how pretty those colors are. So beautiful. I was so excited. She said, I know that you've been wanting to get back into spinning because I haven't spun for such a long time. She said, so I was hoping that these would kind of like get you inspired to spin again. So thank you so much, Amanda. And like I said, I've had a couple of people reach out wanting to donate stuff, and then I've also purchased some things because you guys, thank you for your donations through Ko-Fi, Coffee, however you pronounce it. I don't even know, but I received some very generous donations there, and I was able to purchase a few things, and I have received some of them, and others I'm still waiting to get in the mail, and that is why I am going to do the giveaway on my next podcast episode. So I thank you so much for joining me, and stay tuned. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I'm back with more projects to show you, as well as a fun giveaway to celebrate 10,000 subscribers to my channel. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.